Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. In Gita, Gya Puruproda, Ekaramash, Cha Satvata, Sattvatam, Rishabham, Sarve, Bhutavasam, Amam Sata. In Gita Gya Puruproda, Ekaramascha Sattvata, Sattvatam Rishabham Sarve, Bhutavasam Amam Sata. In Gita Gya Puruproda, Ekaramascha Sattvataha, Sattvatam Rishabham Sarve, Bhutavasam Amam Sata. Ekaramascha Sattvata. In Gita Gya, expert in psychic study. Puruproda, highly experienced. Eka, one. Arama, relaxation. Cha, also. Sattvatam, devotees, our own men. Sattvatam Rishabham, head of the family. Sarve, all. Bhuta Avasam, all pervading. Amam Sata, could think. Translation. The Yadus were all experienced devotees, learned and expert in psychic study. Over and above this, they were always with the Lord in all kinds of relaxations, and still they were only able to know Him as the one supreme who dwells everywhere. Purport. In the Vedas, it is said that the Supreme Lord or the Paramatma cannot be understood simply by the strength of one's erudition or power of mental speculation. Nayam Atma Pravachene na Labhyo na Medaya na Bahuna Shutena. Kathopanishad 1:2-23. He can be known only by one who has the mercy of the Lord. The Yadavas were all exceptionally learned and experienced, but in spite of their knowing the Lord as the one who lives in everyone's heart, they could not understand that He's the original personality of Godhead. This lack of knowledge was not due to their insufficient erudition, it was due to their misfortune. In Vrindavan, however, the Lord was not even known as a Paramatma, because the residents of Vrindavan were pure, unconventional devotees of the Lord and could think of Him only as their object of love. They did not know that He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Yadus, or the residents of Dwarka, however, could know Lord Krishna as Vasudev, or the Supersoul living everywhere, but not as the Supreme Lord. As scholars of the Vedas, they verified the Vedic hymns, Eko Deva Sarva Bhuta Bisha Vasaha, Antaryami, and Vrishninam Paradevata. The Yadus therefore accepted Lord Krishna as the Supersoul, incarnated in their family, and not more than that. Om Gana Timirandasya Ganagana Shalakaya Chaksura Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sajajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Sabadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaur Avani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarane Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namane Madhu Jojala Premaja Shri Rupa Nuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namo Varsha Vanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarane Rupa Nuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvanta Harane Namo Gaurakishoraya Satchit Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rasambode Padambu Jayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Rupanuga Varayate Gora Virbhave Bhume Swam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Jagannataya Te Namaha Namo Mahabharanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Trishe Namaha Panchatatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Garim Tat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinatarane. So it's very rare to actually know Krishna So it's quite amazing that we have this knowledge. At least we know that, theoretically, we know the words, we know that, and we're praying every day, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Prabhupada wanted that because he wants us to, get that understanding. Krishna is not an incarnation of Vishnu, he's not just the super soul or the Brahman or all the different things that people are thinking about. He's the origin of everything, including all the incarnations. So foolish people say, well, where does Krishna come from? So if Krishna came from someplace else, then he would not be the Supreme Original Personality of Godhead, right? Something else would be. Krishna, people know that. I remember when I went to church when I was a kid, they were singing different songs, and one was saying how he is now and ever shall be and always was, or something, glorifying God. So people have that understanding to some extent. We want to get it fully. We can't just imitate the gopis, and, well, I just love Krishna, and I don't, because they're not denying that he's the Supreme Personality of God. They would realize it every once in a while, but they didn't like to think like that. They wanted to think of Krishna as their child, or their lover, or their friend, So like when Mother Yasoda saw the universal form in Krishna's mouth, twice she saw that, and she said it must be some hallucination, She didn't want to think like that. This is my baby, She didn't want to think that this is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna prefers that, but it can't be imitated. So we get from the Bhagavatam all this knowledge of, of all the planetary systems and different philosophies, and, how the demons work, and, all the different kinds of yoga, and, every detail about everything is there. I was kind of thinking, why is all this there sometimes? And then I was reading that questions by Maharaj Pariksit, and he asked, please tell me about all these things. Because in order to understand Krishna, we have to know more. So the other day I was listening to the description of the universe from the 5th canto, and the numbers just get bigger and bigger and bigger of all these dvipas, and then the lake around the dvipa, or the ocean around the dvipa, and it goes out to hundreds of millions of yojanas, and it's just inconceivable numbers. But then the point is that Krishna, this is all like, for Krishna it's nothing. The one little planet, one small planet compared to some of them, and the Earth is a small planet out of our solar system that we're aware of. And then the smallest universe out of all the universes. Our universe is the smallest one, the four-headed Brahma, which is inconceivable. Nobody can measure the universe. The scientists have some little idea, at least, of how more or less the same of the age of the universe, but no one can measure, no one can count all the planets, the stars, But Lord Brahma said, even if someone could count all the stars in the universe, or all the grains of sand on the planet, they still wouldn't have any idea of Krishna's greatness. But if we think about these things, it should help us to understand, well, if Krishna, all these things are just external, tiny, tiny part of the external energy of Krishna. Prabhupada used that one time when it was Tamal Krishna Goswami, and they were doing very well in Los Angeles. They were way ahead in the Back to Godhead distribution and everything. And Prabhupada, he was the temple president. Prabhupada called him for lunch, fed him very nicely. course, he wanted him to increase his back to Godhead vow. So he just started to describe, there's this universe, and within this universe, there's so many universes, and within this, all these millions of billions of universes, there's one universe. And in this universe, there's one solar system, but in this solar system, there's an Earth planet. And on the Earth planet, there's the United States of America. And in the United States of America, there's California. And in California, there's Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, there's a La Cienega Avenue. And on La Cienega Avenue, there's a very small house. And in this house is Tamal Krishna thinking he's very important. And that's how we all are, Everybody would thinking I'm important, nothing can go on without me. I've done so much. That's the illusion. Thinking I am the doer, that's the vimudha, whoever thinks I am the doer, then he's the biggest fool, special fool, vimudha. So I heard a very nice verse this morning from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is from the 11th canto, Krishna explaining devotional service. The same activities that would degrade an elevated person do not cause fall down for those who are already fallen. Then the purport gives example like for a sannyasi or a brahmachari to have sex is a terrible fall down. But for a regulated householder, if he has regulated, then it's good. He won't fall down. Then indeed, one who is lying on the ground cannot fall down anymore. The material association that is dictated by one's own nature is considered a good quality. If somebody's, in a certain ashram, a certain situation, and they're following it properly, then it won't cause fall down. But if somebody's doing, what a Sudra does, but he's a brahmachari or, even a regular devotee, then it'll cause fall down. So we have to be careful. And just try to remember, Krishna is the original Supreme Person. Prabhupada made the Krishna book, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I don't know if that term, I think some Christians used it, some time ago, but not very much. Did anybody ever hear that before they encountered Prabhupada? Of course, some of you encountered Prabhupada your whole life, but because the Mayavadi is so all-pervasive, that God is not a person. Persons are very limited. I'm a person, but I'm limited. I can't do the things like they say Krishna did, so he can't be a person. He's something else, and they can't say what he is. So he's a supreme personality. He's a person. He's a personality. Personality, we know, everybody has their personality. It's also sometimes they describe a particular person as a popular personality or a popular, something. It's kind of like a title even. But Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead, of all the gods. Krishna is the chief. He's supreme above all the other gods. Krishna is called Deva Deva, the god of the gods. He's not one of the demigods. Shiva is Mahadeva. He's amongst the demigods, he's the greatest, but he's still a Deva. Krishna is a Deva Deva. He's the god that the demigods worship. at least some of them don't worship Krishna, they worship Vishnu, but Krishna that's his position. There's nothing like Krishna anywhere. So that's why we keep chanting, Govindam Hare Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Prabhupada recommends, he actually, when he heard the recording that we play every morning, the devotee said he started crying. He liked it so much, And then he said it should be played every morning, and greeting the deities in all our temples. There were some devotees that were thinking they got it from London, the devotees sent it over, and they were thinking this is a woman singing and we shouldn't play it for Prabhupada. And then somehow they did, and then even then afterward there was a group of brahmacharis and telling Prabhupada, we shouldn't, this is a woman singing and we shouldn't hear it, devotees shouldn't hear this. And Prabhupada said, there's a chorus, isn't it? What are you talking about? And so we're still playing it every morning in every temple. It's quite like we were hearing last night, if you heard the class, that Prabhupada made an organization. So in one way we're pretty organized. At least every temple has Mangal Arati. Every temple has Guru Puja. Every temple greets the deities and plays at Govindam Hare Purusham. Sing the same song for Guru Puja. We read the Bhagavatam every morning. It's quite an amazing thing, actually, all over the world. Maybe we're not quite so organized as there's one Christian group, and all their centers all over the world, they study the same verse on the same day. But we're more personal, so every temple is on a different part of the place in the Bhagavatam. We're not so much like, I think he was mentioning some name of a type of organization where everything is so rigid, But basic things, everybody has the same regulated principles, everybody hopefully does Harinam public chanting, because that's the real life of our movement. That's what, Lord Chaitanya did right away, and got in trouble for it. But rather than stop, he just did it more, and Kazi, changed. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Lord Sringadev helped. And the people, for 1 year they were just chanting in the house, not letting anybody else in except the most, advanced devotees. And then all of a sudden they're out in the streets and everybody could see Lord Chaitanya dancing, everybody could hear the holy name. And this is our business, to think, how can we give this holy name to everybody? We need to organize to do that. It's much easier to just chant in the temple, and then it's much easier to just chant outside without books, right? That's not very difficult, but when we have to take books and have to keep reminding everybody, be sure to bring this book, that book, don't forget this, and it takes a lot of endeavor. We have to have books, we have to count how many books we did, and take care of the money and all these things. But that takes some organization, so we do have an international society, and hopefully more and more devotees are doing that. We had that Rath Yatra in Glastonbury. It was interesting, because anybody know what Glastonbury in England is? Right? You ever been there for the festival?
No, it's too expensive.
No? It's a huge thing. It's like Woodstock, probably bigger. They have like 5 or 6 stages, and they have all the big bands of every type of, whatever you call them, different types of music. And the devotees have been going there for a long time. Down on the ground, they call it Gomorrah, Sodom and Gomorrah or something, and up higher they call it some heavenly thing. So there's so much going on, and the devotees have a pretty big spot. Everybody has to pay huge money to get a spot there to sell their stuff, but because the devotees are giving free prasadam, they get it for free, and the organizers tried to kick them out at one point because they wanted to sell the spot, but people objected. So the devotees, 3 times a day they have prasadam distribution, parashuram, really good prasadam, they're very opulent, and kirtan, and they go around chanting, and then at night it's so noisy, so there's not so much kirtan. At least when I was there, very near was the electronic music tent. But they stopped like 1 o'clock, all the other music. So then the devotees start the kirtan 1 o'clock till when the sun starts coming up. They have, some sort of dava nalalita loka, and they stop, and people are dancing, and the devotees are very liberal. So, crazy people come. They come without a sleeping bag or a tent or anything, and it rains, it gets cold, and the organizers tell them, go to the Hare Krishnas, they'll help you, So a lot of people sleeping in the Hare Krishna tent. And when I was there, Prabhupada was there, and he started he said, all right, this is the Hare Krishna dance tent. Everyone that's sleeping, get over to the side, Have to wake people up and move them over. And then the whole crowd, they dance all night, And when we went over to sleep in the bus, still that beep, 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 womp, womp, beep, 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 still going on, until like 8 o'clock. Those crazy, crazy people. So devotees benedict a lot of people by giving free prasadam. One year, devotees tried to sell the prasadam, then they almost got kicked out because they're doing business, But if they're giving it away, then they have a right to be there. And people would come and say, I went to the Christian tent, they wouldn't, I wish everybody else was like the Hare Krishnas. The Hare Krishnas would let you sleep here, they give us food. They don't ask for anything. So this is our business. And we just pray we can really understand and realize, that when Hari Vilas Prabhu, he asked Prabhupada, what is humility? I think someone read that the other day. I hear it, but I don't know if it was here or somewhere else. But Prabhupada said, when you realize that absolutely nothing has any value, whatever you have, your money, your intelligence, your family, your temple, anything has no value, only Krishna. That's humility. When you know, I don't need anything except Krishna. I completely depend on Krishna. I'm useless without Krishna. Everyone, there's nothing without Krishna. Anyone who thinks, Krishna says in the seed verses of the Bhagavatam, anyone who thinks that something is separate from me, that's Maya. Nothing can be separate from Krishna. But Kali Yuga, they're trying to separate the government from Krishna. They're trying to separate everything. That God is just some theory or something, but it's not a fact. And devotees who really pray to Krishna, we can see, like Prabhupada started, we heard yesterday, he didn't give the details because he wanted to talk about all this, history and everything, but the actual event when Prabhupada did this incorporation, he had started when he was living on the Bowery, just in somebody else's building, somebody else's apartment. He started trying to organize the legal work to register a society. At that time, and then he got help, he mentioned that. Some lawyer wanted to help because, he was a young lawyer and he was enthusiastic to help spiritual and religious groups. So he was doing the work, and somehow they got money. The devotees were thinking, well, none of us have any money. How can, they're doing well. hippies, they had no income, and they weren't doing any collecting on the street or anything. But somehow, so this lawyer started coming to the evening classes. He was the only one that wasn't a hippie, and so one night Prabhupada said, "Okay, Mr. forget his name, you can, tell the devotees what you have there." So he said, "Okay, I have all these papers ready, and now we just need to signatures of the trustees." And these are all just people that were coming, to Prabhupada's lectures. Nobody was committed at all. And Prabhupada said, "Okay." He started naming the ones that could sign. And they looked at it as like 25 pages of legal papers, nobody could understand it. Nobody knew what it was all about. Why do we need a legal society, We don't need tax exemption, there's no money. But they signed. And then Prabhupada said, "Okay, Michael and Roy, somebody can be the trustees this year, 3, and next year there'll be 3 different and 3 more." And everybody just agreed and they signed on. Mukunda Maharaj said he had no idea what it was all about. It just because Swamiji said to do it, he signed, They were surrendered. But now we're still existing all over the world. ISKCON, International Society. Prabhupada was, nobody could understand his vision. Everything he did, still we can't understand. And Juhu, everybody, all the devotees said, "Why do we want a temple here? Nobody's going to come here. It's not a nice place. It's not possible, to win this case." And Prabhupada just kept pushing on and got it. And now that temple gets 10,000 guests every day. 50,000 on Saturday and 100,000 on Sunday. But at that time, even when Prabhupada did a Pandal, a few hundred people came. Prabhupada Krishna was guiding him. That area was not so populated, but now it's heavily populated. So many people come every night, temple fills up for the last artik. But all day people are coming, people buying books all day long, prasadam all day long. And the whole world knows about it. That's what made us established in the rest of the world with the Indian communities, that everybody knew about that temple. Because in Bombay, every Indian's got somebody, either business or family member in Bombay, or they've been to Bombay. It's just, can hardly go to India without Bombay, International flights and mostly only Bombay and Delhi. So we really can't understand, but Prabhupada knew. His card, even before he registered and when he was all alone, his card said centers around the world. He told that man he met in the park, "There are temples and there are books, but they're not manifested yet." And that's, like we have New York City. There's many, many temples in New York City. I think we read yesterday we did read the 7 purposes of ISKCON. So one is to establish tirthas for people. But any Harinam party is a tirtha. Anyone who's distributing book, it's a tirtha for anyone who meets them. So Yudhishthira told Vidura, saintly people like you are like walking tirthas. You carry Krishna in your heart, and everywhere you go, you have people meeting Krishna. So every Harinam party, every temple, every place is a tirtha. Some are more special, like New Vrindavan with all this stuff going on, but even a Harinam party, for the people who pass by, it's a holy place, they may not realize it, but it's affecting them. I think we've all experienced meeting people who've been, watching the Harinam for years and years, but never really thought about what's going on here or something. Suddenly they get interested and they take books. And some people join right away, like Mahotsa, you just saw it, and that also happens. But it's just like many people go to the holy places, they go to Vrindavan, they go to Tirupati, they go to wherever they go, and they just go, take a bath and go home. You know, they think that's all you need, dump your sins. I went to one Kumbh Mela and we had this little book for like, I don't know how it sold, maybe 10 rupees or 2 rupees or something, special for the Kumbh Mela. One guy was moving really fast and he said, I don't have time, I just take a bath, I have to get back to Delhi, you know. He didn't have time to just take the book for 2 rupees, because he didn't understand, you know, what it's all about. But at least they come there, they take a bath, and you know, they may think, now I'm freed of all my sins and I can sin again, you know, and then next year do it again, or next, you know, the next something. This is not a very high mentality, but at least they're recognizing something. The devotees are to recognize that what we're doing is such an amazing thing, to give the holy name freely to so many people every day. So we want to chant so that everybody can just join in and never forget the mantra when they walk away. Can't get it out of their head. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Right? So people, then they want to come back. They get used to us. The first time I came here to New York and with Ram Roy, we went out at Union Square. There was always like a half circle of people just watching. And they come up the stairs and just, but now that they've seen it so many times, they don't, it doesn't happen like that. In Japan, when I was first there, nobody ever paid any attention to the Harinam. It was like we were invisible or something. Nobody, if you see someone even like turn their eyes toward it, we'd think, wow, that was great, you know. And then we went on another side of the main station there where we hadn't been before. And a big crowd, suddenly was watching us. I thought, wow, this is a great place here, And then we stopped to say something, everybody left. And the next time we went there, nobody paid any attention. But still, they're being affected by it. Even if their gross senses don't even hear it, the soul hears it. So let's keep it up and remember, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Ishvara, the supreme Ishvara is Krishna. Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Not so many people, even when Krishna was present, the Pandavas, few people knew. Arjuna understood. The Prabhupada listed, the people that really understood him like that was few. Of course, the Yoga Maya that the Vrijbasis were in is different. And the Yadus, they also really love Krishna, but they're covered over also. But they couldn't see him as the original supreme source of anything. Maybe they didn't even understand there was such a thing. But the Mahamaya people that just say there's no God, or Krishna's just this or that, that's not the same as the Vrijbasis who don't know that Krishna's the Supreme Lord. It's completely opposite. So, but we want to try to understand it. And as we practice presenting Krishna like that, presenting Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then Krishna will give us more and more realization. Hare Krishna. So here we are. ISKCON was established, how many years? 55 years? 60? More than that. 56 years or something. 1966. It's 55 years. So as a society, and we have to remember that, we know if we travel, we can go anywhere, and we have a family everywhere we go. Temples, same kind of program everywhere, slightly different moods, same books everywhere. I was very impressed. I started to say it at Glastonbury. It's a small, quiet town, actually. Glastonbury, England's also just a big farm, you know, it's not a city. But there were many devotees there that were really enthusiastic book distributors. One guy was walking around with 2 saptas, you know, in the crowd, looking for people at the festival. Sold them also, he sold them, I don't know how many. And a few Matajis were coming, like picking up 5 Bhagavad Gitas, going out, coming back after a half hour, picking up 5 more Bhagavad Gita. And they were looking for the, you know, the local people. And the local people were really nice, and so many of them were coming up to the book table and really interested in, you know, wanting books, and very sweet people. So there's so much potential. Never give up, you know. And youthful energy, use it now before you don't have it anymore. Right? All this energy that youth people have is mostly people completely wasting it on extreme sports or, you know, some kind of undesirable activities. Use it for Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions?
Maharaj, who are the devotees that have that limited realization of Krishna just as Paramatma? From the ones that we know, the Pandavas, they all knew.
Prabhupada mentions the Pandavas and well, like Kunti, obviously, Bhishma. You know.
Just a few. Just a few.
Yeah, Prabhupada mentions a few times. He listened. There's not very many.
The other question is, what is this expert? You said that you also were expert in psychic study. What is that? What does that mean?
I guess that's what it means. You know, they knew how the mind works and everything. They knew people. Maybe they knew something about mystic powers. Because the Yadus were very, very powerful. They, you know, they were very powerful. So that's, I couldn't say it means more than just psychic study. Psychic can mean different things, right? The word, but basically it's things to deal with the mind and maybe a little bit beyond the ordinary, you know, modes of passion and ignorance, more beyond, you know, psychic phenomena, things like that, where the mind is realization of the power and stuff. They were not ordinary people at all. Krishna's family, you know, living with Krishna. So they understood that, according to here, the Paramatma feature. But they also knew Krishna as a person. So Uddhava, you know, he obviously knows of Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some we can know for, you know, we can think of right away that. And there were others. But it's not like everybody. Kamsa couldn't understand. He saw all the things, all the amazing things Krishna did and just thought it was just good luck. Jarasandha got defeated so badly by Krishna, and they'd say, well, that was just, you know, karma, just bad luck, you know, you try again. You're better than him, you know, right? All right. That help? Yeah?
The subject kind of reminded me of chapter 7, text 3. I was wondering if it's the same subject. The translation is, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth.
Yeah, I was going to say that right in the beginning. I was going to quote that verse. Yeah, that's a good Sankirtan verse also. When we try to distribute books, we definitely get the realization of that one. Right? Out of many thousands, someone might have a little bit of interest, and then most of them will just say, well, I don't need a book, or now I understand. But, so it's very rare. It's very rare. There's other places where Krishna says, Vasudeva Sarvamati Samahatma Sarulabha. It's very rare that somebody understands me as the Supreme Origin, Supreme Lord of everything. But some do. And now by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, more and more people are understanding that. Without being any kind of special, all the other special qualities, those kind of people have the hardest time, the big professors and everything. There's many, so-called professors. They know the Bhagavad Gita by heart, they know it backwards, and they know the Bhagavatam, but they don't know Krishna. Krishna doesn't reveal himself. They're just proud they have some learning, and they know this, and they know that, Krishna, but he reveals himself to any person who has a little bhakti, has some idea of devotion, a little humility. So we always find those, and we can find more and more. We had a pretty good day with the books on Saturday, right? So keep it up. Take more out. And probably, if you shoot for the rhinoceros, if you fail, they'll say, well, it's not possible anyway, but if you're trying to shoot a rabbit or something, nobody cares how you kill a rabbit, But, so if we try for 100 books, it might do 50, but if we try for 50, it might do 20, 30. Think big. One devotee in Japan, he used to always take out 200 books. So much endeavor, And then the Maharajas also, they'd take out so many, like 100. And one devotee was helping them, loading up the books and packing them up at night, And he would, why do they take so many? What's wrong? Why don't they, they never do all of them. And I said, no, this is what inspires them. Because if you always have a lot of books left, you think, well, I got to get going here, I have a heavy load, somebody help me take a few books so I don't have to carry all these books home. And we get inspired. But if we look and we finished almost everything, we're doing pretty good now. Shoot big, think big. Okay, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Vidura ki jai. Uddhava ki jai.
His Holiness Kavichandra Maharaj ki jai.
Govindam Adi Prusham Tamaham Bhajami. Gauranga.